So welcome to Women Entrepreneurship Week. My name is Crystal Scott. I am the Assistant Dean here of the College of Business and Associate Professor of Marketing. And we are really happy to have you here today for Women in Entrepreneurship Week. This is our first time here hosting it at the University of Michigan-Dearborn College of Business. And Women in Entrepreneurship Week is a global program. It's in its 5th year, started at Montclair State University. Last year they had 76 universities participating in 15 countries. And this year, 160 universities in 60 countries. So we are really happy to be a part of this growing event that is a global event. Tim Davis, my colleague, helped put this event on. I was going to introduce him, but I think many of you know him already. So welcome to our panel. We have a series of events today. The first one is our 12:30 panel, and after this we have a pop-up in the hallway from 2 to 6, so make sure you stop by, and then we'll have a 6 p.m. pop-up. So you won't hear from me all day. We have a moderator from our Entrepreneurship 400 class, and that's Andrea Vasquez will moderate. And we'll get started with our 3 panelists, so I'll introduce them, but then I will let them tell you about their businesses and their entrepreneurial journey, okay? So we have with us Claudio Morosi, we have Lisa Court, and Alexis Mann. So we are happy to have them today. Again, so we'll get started in any order, and I'll ask Andrea to come on up and help field questions from our audience. So you should have a little piece of paper here, and as you hear their introductions, if you have questions that you would like answered about how they started their business, any suggestions they would have for you, please write them down and someone will come by and take them from you, okay? Thank you.
Again, my name is Lisa Cordy. I am the owner of Cordy's Collision. I had this whole speech set out for you guys, and of course, as soon as I get up here, it all goes out of my head. But we are a family-owned business. I own it with my husband. We opened in 2003. It is a classic family-owned business. All 4 of our boys have worked there at one point, and currently 2 of our boys work there back in the shop as technicians. I'm really proud of them. They have learned a lot of customer service. They've learned how important it is for our livelihood to take care of customers. Even last night, our youngest son went to get a pizza. He came back and said, "Mom, they didn't ask me, if they could help me out. They didn't, they kind of ignored me, let me stand there." So, they kind of catch that, how important customer service is even when they're going to other businesses. Our industry is an industry, unfortunately, that people don't always have a lot of trust in. So that was something right from the beginning. We wanted to build our reputation on the trust that we get from people. My husband had 20 years already experience in the collision repair industry. So he was able to take that experience and his reputation. It was already established. He was able to take that into the business. I do all the bookkeeping. I am a numbers nerd. I love my numbers. It's like I'm a detective when I get in there. I love QuickBooks. It has literally saved us tens of thousands of dollars. No matter how hard you work getting those sales in the door and trying to get that money in the door, if you're not watchful of where that money is going out the door, you're going to be in trouble. So I welcome any questions. I'm excited to be here today, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell you about my business.
Hi, what a great crowd. Wow, I was expecting all ladies here, so it's pretty cool to see some men here too. My name's Claudine. I own a company called Right at Home, and we provide non-medical in-home care for anybody 18 and older. I started my career out, I have a master's in accounting. I was a CFO for a orthopedic implant company, a manufacturer's rep, and I had a great career. But at some point in my life, I decided, like you guys, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I I did a lot of research, a lot of studying, and I decided that this was what I wanted to do. So I bought into a franchise. What we do is a franchise. I originally had purchased 2 territories here in the Dearborn, Detroit area. And then at some point, about a year later, another territory which butted up to my 2 territories became available, so I purchased that one too. So now I own 3 territories. I talk quietly, I'm sorry. I just lost my train of thought now. So now I own 3 territories. You know, I had a great career. I loved what I did, but my daughter was leaving for college. The gentleman I was working for was retiring, and so I felt like it was a really good time to make a life change. The problem was I was a little bit older, and I wish I had done it probably 20 years ago instead of, you know, when I was close to 50. But it's been great. It's been rewarding. I wouldn't change what I did for the world. And God, I wish you guys, I hope you all become entrepreneurs. It's great. It really is.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis Mann. My business is Triple A's Closet. It is a women's plus-size retail boutique located in Midtown Detroit. We launched officially in November of 2016. So we're pretty new, you know. I started the business initially with customizing scarves, so I like to knit. I started out with just doing accessories, belts, and just different creative things, anything that would come to mind that I could do in my spare time when I wasn't working, and also when I wasn't taking care of my son, because I'm a full-time mother as well. Well, fast forward to 2017, I found myself not working full-time anymore and decided, well, this will be a great time to fully start my business. But prior to that, let me backtrack a little bit because I missed out on Marcus there. Mr. Marcus Harris in the back, he's my mentor. And I took a business class with him prior to me actually starting my business. And what I would say to anybody, and Marcus, I'm sure it says this all the time, in order to lower your risk, you need to up your knowledge. So I'm always continuously learning and researching different business trends. And even not necessarily, I'm in retail and, you know, I sell women's clothing, but I might look at what is technology doing and how can technology enhance my business and in what different ways. How can I get a product to a customer faster, or how can I get it in their face faster where they want to buy it from me before they can buy it from somebody else. I love what I do. It's definitely a chase. It's a grind. It's a hustle. It's something that you have to do 24/7. If you're going into it alone, keep in mind that's a big weight on your shoulders. Pace yourself and prioritize things, and don't be afraid to ask. And one thing I say about entrepreneurship is not glamorous at all. It's not glamorous, but the work is worth it. It's well worth it when you see that you put forth the effort, you know, the fruits of your labor. It's really worth it. So I wish you guys much success, and I'm looking forward to answering some of your questions. Okay. Yes.
You're telling me that guy pushed you to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so in 2016 is when I took the class. Like I said, I knew I wanted to become an entrepreneur. And the issue that I saw, I live on the east side of Detroit, and we have maybe one store that's for plus-size women over there. It's a lot of us over there. Why don't we have a store for us? It's ridiculous. And then, you know, just talking about quality, you know, affordable clothing for women, for plus-size women, it's a struggle, even if you shop online. And so I knew that that's the need that I wanted to fulfill. But I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know where to start, and I didn't want to just go out and spend a bunch of money and invest into things that I wasn't really clear on exactly what I was doing. And I needed to make sure that if I started this business by myself, I need to understand bookkeeping, I need to understand accounting, I need to understand marketing, I need to understand promotions, I need to understand operations, I need to understand every aspect of my business because it's mine. and that's hard, and that takes knowledge. So yes, Marcus did teach me all of that. He did. Yep, he does. And continue even after, like I said, I took the class some time ago. We meet frequently. We meet, we talk, and I touch bases, and I say, Marcus, I'm struggling with marketing. I'm not really sure, or my website, my numbers aren't where they supposed to be in comparison to other websites similar to mine. What am I not doing? What else can I do? And the best thing about having a mentor is that you get those out of the box ideas. And I love crazy ideas. I love something that's just risky and like, you know what, this is crazy enough to work, because it normally does. And he gives me insight like that. And so I would recommend every entrepreneur to have a mentor, and maybe even more than one. I talk to Marcus about, a lot of my operations and a lot of promotions and things, but then I also have another mentor who I talk about, like, accounting and my QuickBooks, because I am not a numbers girl at all. But I need to understand my numbers. I need to know where my money is going. Yep. And just like she said, if you don't know, then you'll find yourself going nowhere fast, Yep.
Do we have any more questions? Okay, well, I guess I have a question. How did you fund the launch of your business or secure money for growth?
You want to start? You want to just go down the line? Is that easier for you?
Anyone's fine.
Oh, okay. For us, as I said, my husband was in the technician field for 20 years, so we had built up a 401k program, 401k funds. We actually cashed that out, luckily, right before the crash, where a lot of people lost money, but that's what we used to fund ours. Our business actually was for sale, but by land contract. He actually had closed the collision shop, but he had the building, the equipment, the customer base wasn't there, so we had to build up a customer base from scratch. But then there was some extra land that was adjacent to it that we wanted to purchase, so we weren't landlocked. I kind of worked out a deal between the real estate agents where they took a little bit of a cut on their commission, and we were able to get the full down payment. Sometimes you got to be a little tricky, like Alexa was saying, you got to think outside the box to get you places, and it does work.
I did the same thing. I actually cashed out my 401k as well. Luckily, I was fortunate enough before opening my business to have a good job, and a gentleman that took very good care of me, and he was actually my mentor. And when I bought my third territory, he actually loaned me the money to purchase it. So, with no question, and paid him back, and here I am. I mean, it is hard. If I didn't have those two resources, I'm not sure what I would have done. It would have taken a lot more work to try and fund what I was doing. So I was fortunate in that respect, but.
I started my business with funding from several different sources. The first thing I did was my own savings. And then once again, going back to the program that I was in, they offered a pitch competition. I was extremely nervous to do the pitch competition. And at the time, I didn't have what I would consider a real business. I was kind of like more so still in the idea phase. But Marcus coached me through the pitch, and I won $1,000 towards my business. So from that, I started doing pop-ups, and kind of got my name going through the pop-up scene. And then my next step, I said, bam, I launched a business, and I opened up my store. So that's the way I started. And I started small, and the reason why I started small is because it was less risk. And I knew that I could afford, if I wanted to purchase maybe, $3,000 worth of inventory or something. That's something that I can handle. That's something that's affordable, and I know I can get rid of it if, I needed to, if this didn't work out for me. And so just starting out like that, even though it was kind of slow, even though it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it got me towards the goal of opening my store. And it was great practice too. It's great practice, and you get to see the good and bad, because doing pop-ups, sometimes you get a really good pop-up where you have a full, crowd of people and you make a lot of sales, and then sometimes you get one that's dead and it's like a ghost town, and you're talking to all the other vendors all day, and it's sad, because you're like, wow, I invested a lot of time, effort, I'm here, and then you don't see anything from that. But to still take that motivation and inspiration and go forward is what's important to remember, because it'll be a lot of dark days. So, but just think about the sunshine. Yeah.
You had a question?
So what would be some habits that you guys do daily that you would say leads to your success? Great question.
Okay, so I wake up really early. I wake up 4:30 in the morning every day, and I go to bed about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And the reason why I do that is because I like to schedule. So I'm social media crazy. So I like to schedule posts in the morning, and I have numbers of what times are good to post things. So I like to schedule out my posts for the day early in the morning. Another habit is I check emails first thing in the morning as well. See who I need to follow up with, what clients I may need to contact. Another habit is I keep a journal all the time. It's like, my secret diary. And, I write down little note, anything that I might see. If I'm walking into a clothing store and I see a really cool maybe display or something, I may, write down, research this type of, thing or something. So I take a lot of notes. What else do I do frequently? Collect business cards. And I have a Rolodex too, guys. I'm old school. But I collect business cards a lot because you never know who you can collaborate with, and, who you may need to partner up with, who you may need to, network and whatnot. But those are some of my habits that I have. Mm-hmm.
At least I think about it.
Oh, okay, sorry. I think the best thing that has helped me is when I get up in the morning, I kind of ask myself, what's the challenge that's going to hit me today? Because there is always a challenge, and it's always something different. Sometimes it's a little easier, but at the end of the day, you feel good because you've accomplished something. You've accomplished a new challenge that you probably never would have expected. Also, getting in and getting settled in before your doors open. We open at 8 o'clock, and almost weekly, there's a customer there waiting for us when we open our doors. So it's very difficult to be walking in along with the customer and trying to get your computer started, your estimating system up and running, or, maybe checking in his keys, taking his cars from him, taking them to the rental agency. We like to get in early, get our day started, then the employees start coming in and the customers start coming in. So we're ready for them.
I think getting up in the morning, I always get up in the morning, I spin, if anybody knows what spinning is. I do that every morning, not every morning, but most of the time. And I think if you get up in the morning and you get into these habits and you do these routines, you feel really good about yourself throughout the day. You try to eat healthy, exercise, do all these things. I think all that contributes to the success of your business. I always make it a point to stop in the office in the morning. I'm not always in the office because I'm out marketing, but I always try to stop in and just say, hi, how's everyone doing? Do you guys need anything? Can I get you a bagel? Whatever it is, I'm there for them, and they know that. So I guess that's really habitually what I really do to, if I feel good about myself, I'm going to go in the morning and just feel good about everything. So no matter what hits you.
Any more questions? Yes.
What are some of the marketing methods that you guys did to get your name out there when you first started?
Andrea, I'm sorry. I want everyone to hear the questions, and we're talking to the audience. Andrea, could you repeat that question for everyone to hear, please?
Could you repeat it?
What are some of the marketing methods that you did when you first started out the business to get your name out there?
So what I did, I joined every possible group, chamber, network, event, everything I could do to possibly introduce myself to somebody. You never know. You never know who your client's going to be. I could, meet this gentleman and his grandpa needs care. So I joined, Lisa and I both are on the executive board of the chamber. So I did that. I did a couple of other chambers. I'm the treasurer on a nonprofit. Anything I could do to get my name out there. I taught at, up until this year, I taught at the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Here, actually it was here. There's a ton of networking groups that I belong to. But at the time I had more time on my hands to do all these networking things. Now I find myself scaling back on all the groups that I participated in because I'm just running out of time. You're too busy at some point once your business takes off. So really, other than that, I mean, as far as marketing, I belong to a franchise, so they really, part of your royalty fees is them doing your marketing for you. So they had a big hand in that as well. So.
For us, when we opened, it was 2003, so we really didn't have the internet. Social media now is a great avenue to get your information out and introduce yourself. Back then, it was all letters and visiting. I had to go around to insurance companies, insurance agents, let them know who we were. We started out initially, before we even opened our doors, sending letters to every one of our family, our friends, our neighbors, letting them know we're opening, this is where the business is, contact us anytime. The collision industry is a little unique in that, people don't need it all the time. It's not a restaurant. It's not a shoe store. So typically a driver gets in an accident once every 7 years. So we have to make that impact. Every customer that we have come in, we have to make sure they remember us for a length of time and that they pass the word to other people.
For me, I think I use a couple of different tools. I like to use different apps. So one app that I use is Hootsuite. It's a scheduling app that you can merge with your Instagram and Facebook and schedule your post. So I post all different things that would target my, target market. So some of my clients, they like really inspirational things in the morning. So I'll post something about, maybe wellness or self-care or something like that. My clients, they also like to see, what's the outfit of the day or the deal of the day. So you try to post something like that. What else would I suggest? Also, like she mentioned, joining social groups. So I did involve myself with a couple of different nonprofits and offer, to do some work with them. Partnering up with, businesses that are like yours. So I do a lot of pop-up events with other boutique owners, just because even though we sell, we all both own boutiques, but we all may offer different things. So they may offer more casual, where I offer more dress, formal attire. Yeah, those are pretty much all the different avenues that I use.
Any more questions?
I have a question. You said you schedule your posts or whatever. I assume you do that to reach the largest demographic or whatever at a specific time. When do you find this the best time to post things?
So I also have another app for that. I have to look in my phone and tell you what it is, but it actually tells me based upon my target market what the best time is, because for each target market it's a little different. So my most of my clients, they work 9 to 5. So if I post in the morning when they're sipping their coffee that inspirational, they're going to remember me. And then around lunchtime they usually scroll. So between 12 and 2 I like to get another post in, and then maybe right before bedtime, so around 10:30ish, I do my third post.
If I find you after this, will you talk about apps here?
Yes, I will. Yep.
Oh, would you guys say there's any books or resources that you find yourselves coming back to again and again for help? Or things that have really helped you move ahead?
I'll answer there's a book called The Dip. The Dip. And I refer back to that because, being an entrepreneur is tough. We all, I think we all know that. But, and it has its ups and downs. But The Dip it's about the climb is the hardest part, right? Getting to the top, being at the top is easy, but getting there is definitely the hardest part. And it kind of guides you through when things are at a low. And I go back and I read it every once in a while.
Do you want me to answer?
What's the best advice you've ever received?
So her question was, what is the best advice you have ever received?
Honestly, don't be afraid to fail. You just get up, you pick yourself up, and you keep going, and you try again. Because if you really want to be an entrepreneur, eventually, if you research and do your due diligence and you're ready to go, you should be fine. And if you fail, you pick yourself up and you do it again.
I would also, I would say I think my biggest piece of advice would be to understand that in business, you may have a blueprint. So you may have your business plan and it's in writing. This is, what my business is going to offer. This is how things should go. It may not go that way. And being okay with that and saying, okay, it's not functioning in this manner, but it can get to this point if I do these next steps. And then let your mentor come in and help you to that. And don't feel like you're failing because you haven't achieved what you wrote down. Because that's a live document and it's going to change. And since I opened up in 2016, I've changed my business plan probably 8 or 9 times. Just because as you learn new things, as you get more research, like, that's not really a good idea. That may be too expensive right now. Let's go this route. And keep in mind, with that live document, you can always, add it back later. Say, you want to do an expansion or whatever. But just be mindful that even though it's not exactly how it's printed, it can get to that. And it does take a lot of hard work. But I think that if you kind of you learn to kind of go with the flow of things, you'll start to feel like you're more in control. Because sometimes operating a business, you feel like you're out of control and things are just kind of happening, and you're like, okay, how do I, narrow this down or kind of scale this down? And that kind of, like I said, going back to having that mentor, and that's the biggest thing I recommend is just having a group of good people around you that you can really contact for various things, that you're unsure about or you're unaware of. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What has been your biggest obstacle when you started?
So the question was, what has been the biggest obstacle when you started?
Ooh, I think my biggest obstacle was real estate in the city. There's not a good space for me to put my business. So for me, that's a big obstacle right now. I'm looking at my lease coming up in December, and I still haven't found that place that just screams to me, this is where you should be at. And I'm hesitant to go into a place that, okay, this will work and it's functional and it's kind of what I need, but I'm not really happy with the location. And then to suffer from that, because as we all know, location, it means a lot. So yeah, I think that right now that's my biggest obstacle.
I think my biggest obstacle was kind of admitting I can't do everything myself. I need help. You have, like you said, you have to surround yourself with a good team. You build a team that you can count on. And then you kind of just have to let go. It's hard to do, especially if you're a little bit controlling, like I might be. Not saying I am. But it's, realizing you can't do everything. You try. Like in the beginning, you're like, oh, I can't afford to do this, or, with my cash flow. And, you're just so careful with every dime that goes out the door. But you come to a point where it's harmful to think you can do it all. You can't. When you're little, it's okay. But as you grow, you just surround yourself with a good team and strong people, and I think that was probably my biggest obstacle.
For us, it's probably insurance companies. One of our pieces of advice was do the positive. It's kind of a mantra in our workforce. Whenever one of the technicians come up and ask me, what do you think about this? And they always know what my response is going to be. What's the positive? If this customer comes in and you have to show them the vehicle, did you do the positive and do the right thing? And then that kind of puts it back onto them, and they want to do the right thing for the customer. So unfortunately, the insurance companies for us pay a lot of the bills, and for them, they want to pay as least amount as possible. So we have, unfortunately, we have issues of they may want to pay for something that is not necessarily the correct repair for the car. And that gets into a logistic problem. What do? We can't pay the money out without them paying us, but we can't do an unsafe repair. So it gets to be a challenge to work that out with the adjusters. We always do, or sometimes we eat it. Sometimes, we do what's right and fix the car and don't get paid for it.
How long was it before you considered your business to be successful?
any,
Still waiting.
if any
Right.
small businesses, one day you think, wow, I'm opening another shop. We are doing great. And the next day you're thinking, I think we need to close the doors. So from one day to another, it changes. It really does until, at some point you look back and you go, oh, wow, look what I've built. It all does come together. But it is always a challenge. Like I think I've said that before, you just start to think outside the box. Things start to slow down, and we also have a vehicle dealer's license, so we buy and sell cars. Like someone else mentioned, the chamber, all our associations, I belong to the Chamber of Commerce, we're in a business networking group, our association, all those connections help you through the slow times, but when I would ever say, we're successful and established, I don't know when that point ever comes. Hopefully when we sell, I guess.
Yeah, business is tough. It goes up and down. My industry is, it's elderly people. They pass away, they go into the hospital, they come out of the hospital. There's no trend in my business. But I don't consider where I'm at a failure, but I don't know if I've really reached what my definition of success is yet. I could, you could always be bigger and better, but at some point it's, when do you stop, So I don't know. Do I consider, I think for me, I'm successful because I opened up my own business. Like you, single mom, I've got a daughter. If I can get my daughter through college, that's successful. So, I guess there's different definitions. It's not all monetary, though.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on how you define success. I would say that I do believe in celebrating small success. So if I have a very successful pop-up, or if I'm able to close a deal with a new designer that I'm going to collaborate with, I consider all of those different types of success. And for me, what that helps is it gives me energy to continue to keep going. Because sometimes it does, like we, all discuss, we have those, dark nights. So to reflect on what I've done prior to is always helpful for me to continue on, because I can think back where I was a year ago, what I was doing. I was just finishing up my business plan. I didn't have a product. Now I have a store. So just to even say that, I feel like that is a success, but I also keep in my mind that I have so much more that I want to do and so much more that's coming at me, and, I want to grow. And to, maybe even start different businesses. So I kind of just always look at the fact that even though I'm doing really well, I want to accomplish so much more. So I kind of try not to focus on if I feel like I'm being successful. I know if I was to maybe, I don't know, like if it got really slow and I started to lose a lot of money, I may, start to doubt myself. But yeah, I try not to focus on that. I try to just focus on making sure I do a good job every day. Mm-hmm.
How do you guys build a team based on trust, and do you have any trust issues, stories that you had and dealt with?
So her question was, how do you build a team that you trust, and have they had any issues with trust in the past?
I have caregivers. It's a minimum wage job, so it's really difficult to hire. I think probably now I have about 53 caregivers. And they're going into people's homes. You talk about trusting people. There's nights when I first started I didn't sleep. You just don't know. And I've had some failures. I think part of my issue is that I trust I look for the good in everyone. And so I have to hope and pray that, things go well. They don't always. Like I said, I've had failures. But I think you learn from them and you move on. You just learn from them, you take away something from it, and you just keep going, So.
We've definitely had, our share of, and I don't want to say people we didn't trust, but sometimes repairs are subjective to what is a good repair. Other technicians have come in, and they probably were the top of their shop that they were at, and they came to our facility and probably only worked a week or two, and my husband said, I'm sorry, that's not the type of work we do here. It's just different, like I said, different repair processes or different, not a lot, sometimes, I don't want to say not a lot. Some of the business owners did not repair cars before. They didn't have that experience as a technician. So you hire somebody who comes in and they tell you they're the top of their field, you may not know, what they're telling you is true. Luckily, my husband did have the experience. He knew what was right and wrong and, knew who he wanted to keep. So I guess that would be something that some advice I would give to you if you're going to open a business, open something you know. It's harder for people to try and persuade you into doing things that they want because you know the field.
What was the question again?
If you have had any,
Oh yeah.
trust
Okay. I would say I do have trust issues. I haven't had a incident that I can recall where it triggered that. I think it's just the fact that my business is my baby, and I have to protect it and hold it. So I look at it from that aspect, and it's very precious to me. I do have a lot of security features in place for like my point of sale system for my employees to use. But I do trust them. And, I always have a conversation. Well, when I hire my employee, I had a conversation with her, just letting her know very open and honest that, this is my business and I'm really trusting you a lot. I'm trusting you almost with my life because when I'm not here, I'm asking you to represent my business and also me and my brand and everything that it stands for. And really not putting pressure on her, but just letting her know how important that is to me. And for her to understand that this is not, it's not a Macy's, it's not a Kmart, it's not just something that you can say, you know what, I don't want to do this. This is something that I really need you to commit to, and something that you have to understand that I may not just ask you to be, a salesperson. I may need you to do some marketing. I may need you to do other things because it's a small business, and to be open to that. And since I had that conversation with her, I think she really understands me, and we have an excellent working relationship. So I trust her, but not trusting of everyone though.
I want to add on to that because I want to tell you what I did. When you have a lot of employees, it's hard to get to know every one of them. They're out in the field representing you. About 2 years ago, I did away with direct deposit, and I do live checks. And it forces them to come into the office every Friday and get their paychecks. And it allows me one-on-one time and saying, how's your family? How's your mom? How's your children? How's your client? And so I'm building these relationships so that hopefully the trust is there. They know they can come to me if they have a problem, and I'll do whatever I can to help them. I've gotten burned plenty too, but you hope for the best. Like you said, it's your baby. I mean, but I can't focus on that. I just, but getting that one-on-one time with them every Friday made a huge difference. They don't like it because they have to come in and get their checks, but when they start talking, it's like, okay, no.
Yes.
How do you know when it's like truly the right time to sit down and start your business? Because I know personally, I feel like every time I take a step forward, something in life happens, and now I have to dedicate to this, and now I'm 2 steps backwards again. So how do you know when it's that right time?
We did go through that, and it did take a few years. There were a couple of different opportunities where we looked at different businesses. We had to really decide, is this one right for us, and do we have the time? You have to realize when you're opening your own business, you have to not only support that business, you need to support yourself. That is your source of income. So if you're not prepared to make enough money to pay your own, debts or living expenses, you need to be aware of that. That's also going to be tacked on to what your business needs to make to survive. Like I said, it took us a couple of years. We did look at 3 or 4 different buildings, different opportunities. For the size of the building and what they wanted for it, it didn't calculate. So, you just kind of have to weigh those pros and cons. Eventually you do get there, and each time, as you tell it, you're probably gaining experience and realizing you're narrowing it down to what you need. You feel like you're probably taking 2 steps back, but when you look back, you'll probably realize you've learned a lot more than than you know.
For me, I think it's a little bit different because I did buy into a franchise, and they are so procedural that when I started, when I actually, signed the papers, it was like a freight train. I couldn't stop it. It was just like boom, 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 boom. Like I didn't have time to think about taking 2 steps back. So it's a little bit different, I think, being in a franchise system, because I just didn't have that. It took me about 1.5 years to decide that this was what I wanted to do, and plan and prepare and get my finances in order and all that. But once I signed the papers, it just took, I just didn't have time to. I was scared to death, but I didn't have time to really think about failure or going backwards or anything like that. So I think it's a different scenario. I don't know. I mean, you're not part of a franchise, so.
I think I knew it was the right time just because every reason that I had to put off my business was removed from my life. So initially it was my son is too young. He's too young. I have to be, at home every night. And then, okay, now he's older. So what's the next excuse? And then it was, okay, well, I've been working in the field. I worked in the criminal justice system for several years, and I have this great career, so do I just want to let that go? And, or it was just fear. What will my family think? My parents would think I was crazy because you want to quit your job, So, and kind of getting over those things and understanding that, okay, if this is something that I'm going to do, let me buckle down and commit to it. But I also, one thing that I did to kind of get my feet wet was I took the class, because I knew at least if I take the class and I pay this money, and then say after I take this class and, he teaches me about financing and marketing and how to, run a business and everything. If I don't like it, then I just wasted my Tuesdays for a couple of months. But it wasn't, a big commitment. And I think that made me more comfortable when it came time for me to just transition right into the business. I would say don't wait too long. Don't wait too long, and don't wait until you feel like it's going to be a perfect moment, because sometimes it's not like it's going to be a sign. It's just something that you'll say, okay, I'm ready. Mm-hmm.
Do you protect your business, or what's your security net?
As far as finances, or?
Just in general, if I'm thinking insurance claims and things, or reverse side with trust issues, somebody maybe stealing from you, and even just ideas. How do you guys protect your business, your ideas, or what's your security net?
So a couple of things. So as far as theft, I do have an insurance policy that just covers my merchandise in store. If there was fire, things of that nature. Another thing that I also did was I retained an attorney to get a couple of documents made for me. And I went through a nonprofit to do that because obviously it's expensive, to retain an attorney. And so I got services to, retain that attorney. And we went over different things that I wanted to be protected. So something that I'm working on now is a custom line for my clients. And it's very specific as far as fabrics and even the way that the pieces will be made. And I wanted that to be protected because it's something that I did create on my own. So to make sure that I had those documents in place, and also to make sure that the designers understood that even though they're making this for me, it's not their property, it's actually mine. And then also having those conversations, because I'm big on being transparent with people, especially when it comes to my business. If we're working together, I want you to know everything. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm doing this, and so we fully trust each other. We're committed to this project, and this is what we're going to do together. And to be honest, I haven't had any issues, and I'm hopeful that I will continue to not have any. But I did get those contracts in place.
Yeah, I do this. I have insurance too, liability, workers' compensation, all the things that you need to run a business. But Some of what I do is paid by insurance companies. Some of it's paid by the state, some Medicaid cases, and so those require specifics with your insurance and your security and your, I mean, it goes beyond just insurance. I mean, I have to do certain background checks and, drug screens, and there's checks on the website besides background, but with government agencies that I have to do for my employees. So, if I get a bad background check, you obviously don't hire that person. I have had a couple clients accuse a caregiver of stealing. I've given them the money back because that was the right thing to do. I didn't have to make an insurance claim. Knock on wood, I haven't had one yet. But we also have HIPAA. Everybody knows what HIPAA is. HIPAA compliance that we have to abide by. So everything's always locked up. I'm fortunate enough not to have a cash business, so we don't really. You have cash business. I don't have cash, so it's that's not something I have to worry about. Is anybody stealing cash? But I've had situations multiple times where a disgruntled caregiver will. I don't know how they do it, but somehow or another they take their payroll checks and they duplicate it with different amounts, and I've had nightmares with my bank account. Fortunately, the bank is insured, and they have, made me whole, so it wasn't anything detrimental to me. But things like that, I don't know how to avoid, other than putting direct deposit back in place. But I feel strongly about having a connection with these people, so I won't do direct deposit right now. So.
And I'm sorry, I can't see you, but we actually. One of my biggest things, I check my bank account every morning. One time I did check it, and there was $600 taken out from Myers, something I knew that we didn't do. And same thing, somebody had taken one of our checks that we wrote, they washed it, somehow they were able to write it. By the end of the week, they already had a bank account set up through with our accounting number and our routing. Money was coming out. So every morning I check. Luckily, we caught it early enough. I worked with the bank. We were able to resolve it. The bank does have its own insurance, but we caught it so early, we were able to close that account, open up a new one. Having a good bank that you can talk with and sit down with when things like that come up. I mean, Monday morning I was in the bank and talking with the director there and working things out. And DFCU has been critical in helping us with just working through loans, buying out that land contract and getting a mortgage on the business. We also have sometimes vehicles. We did a Channel 4 van one time, $250,000 worth of equipment on this van. We held our breath the whole time we had that vehicle. We pulled it in every night. The thing was huge. It took up half the shop, but we were not leaving that out in the yard. We've never had trouble out in the yard, but that's a lot of equipment to be responsible for. So that all worked out fine, but you do take precautions. Sometimes things come up, and you got to be able to protect other people's valuables.
Yes.
How would you recommend for us to get funding if we want to start a business?
So his question was, for those who don't have a 401k, how do they get the funds to start their business?
I would say check out Motor City Match. I won the Space Award in December of last year, and it helped me when it came time to go into my space that I'm in now. So I think they're a pretty good program. I would also recommend Prosper Us. I should be a Prosper Us spokesperson, yeah. But I would really recommend Prosper Us because I'm just telling you what works for me. Let's see. Oh, there's a couple of different nonprofits, so this one wouldn't apply to you, but the Michigan Women's Foundation, they always do different pitch events, and they also offer lending. I'm trying to think of some other things. I would just say really like search the web for the city of Detroit because well I'm not sure where you want to put your business because obviously location would sometimes affect that as well depending on what you can apply for. But I do just a lot of Google searching, and even I've applied for pitch competitions in other states. And kind of like, check the rules and see, do you have to be, that state resident to apply? Do you have to be opening your business in that area to apply? Because I've won an award for like $100 doing a pitch competition in Ohio one time. I mean, it was worth it, But and then too, to get that kind of experience, and then also, the promotion for your business. So, yeah, those are a couple of different avenues. And if I think of some more stuff,
I would also suggest the Small Business Association, the SBA. They have local offices typically, and especially before you even get started, they will help you, help guide you step by step. They're a great resource.
How do you set yourself apart from the competition?
So her question was, how do they set themselves apart from their competition?
I think.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say for me, two things. One is I think my brand itself is a little bit different, and I always come very. I don't know. I just try to be myself, really, and I think that's what sets me apart. Is I'm just Alexis. What I will say is that when I operate my business, I'm very hands-on with the customers. So where, some associates may not actually, talk to the customer, hey, what are you looking for today? Do you have any, upcoming events that you're going to? We have an event coming up. It's, this day and time. So I'm very, I guess, in a sense, you could say I'm a little bit more aggressive because I really want to talk to people and I want to educate them about my product and about my store. So offering them that knowledge so that way when they come back, or even if maybe, say for instance, it's not a full-figure woman, but it's a gentleman, just letting him know that, hey, we offer this event and you can bring your family and friends or whatnot. What else would set me apart? I think my affiliations, for sure. What I've noticed, especially in my industry with boutiques, a lot of boutiques don't partner up with nonprofits that are into offering services for the city. And because there's a lot of us, I think that's really unfortunate. But that's what sets me apart because I do. So and I like to work with them and I enjoy partnering with them because for me my business is not just about receiving and making a profit, which is nice too, but it's also about the woman and that woman that used to be me, because I used to be that career woman that got up and went to work every day, or was at college. I went to Wayne State, but they used to be me. So a lot of times when customers come into my store, somehow they remind me of myself at some point in time in my life, or maybe sometime in the future, maybe. So yeah, those are just a few things.
I think for me, a couple things I say. So we're dealing with families. You're not just taking care of one person. You've got the whole family, and they do. Some of them are very involved, and so I think what sets me apart is I really like us to become a part of that family, and it's not hard to do. It's just people need help, and they hire us to do a service, and so. For instance, if I have a caregiver that doesn't show up to their shift, they just don't call, they don't show up, I go do it. I have scrubs in my car, I throw my scrubs on. If it's an overnight shift, I go do it. If it's a daytime, it's a 5 a.m. shift, you just do the right thing. And I think, I used to say I don't think I'm ruthless enough to be in business because I care about people, but I'm not going to change who I am. And I think for me, being involved and being a part of their family and really making sure that the service you provide, you're providing the service and showing up to shifts if somebody else doesn't, I think it kind of sets me apart. I don't know too many owners who carry scrubs in their cars,
It's funny you asked that question. We kind of talked about this last night. It seems like a lot of our marketing classes, we always continue our education, so I'm always taking classes, whether through the colleges or the SBA or our association. And some of the marketing classes, that's the first thing they tell you. How do you set yourself apart from the other businesses? Well, to me, that's very difficult. A gentleman behind me was a dentist, and at break, he was like, I don't know why I'm different from other dentists. We're dentists, we provide a service. To me, it's almost like when you look in the mirror and say, why do I look different from the other people? It's hard to look at yourself and know why you're different from somebody else. But if you listen to what people say about you, our customers always say, thank you for being so honest. Thank you for explaining things to me that are in my best interest. Thank you for being sincere. Like I said, it's a very unfortunate industry, that not everybody is fair in what they do and how they treat people. So luckily we've built that reputation to let everybody know we truly are out for your best interest and try to repair your car, what's best for you. And if it's something we can't do, we don't feel like you're served well, then we'll let you know that.
So, there are a lot of jealous people out here and haters. Have you guys ever had to hide your identity from any customers because they obviously want to see you succeed? They want to catch that?
Did you guys hear?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she said there's a lot of people out there who are haters and jealous. How do you guys protect yourselves against that?
Because like as entrepreneurs, some people don't want to see you succeed. Like you're doing your own business. There's a lot of haters out there, so you better have to mask yourself to.
Yes.
I think it's more personal when you are an independent business owner. For a corporation, you really don't know personally, Target or, so no one perceives you're spending money and you're giving it, it's just a store. When it's a mom and pop or an individual owner, sometimes if you drive a nice car, they're like, oh, you got a nice car, you must be charging us. Or, it's unfortunate that they don't want to see you succeed or, get established. But I find that to be very rare. I found most of our customers, I had a customer this morning who brought us in bagels and, cream cheese. He just came in this morning, hey, appreciate what you guys did for me. I love those customers, they appreciate that you're just taking care of them and have their best interest in mind. Very few customers, and to me, the customers that are like that or the people that are like that, that's their own issue. It's unfortunate, but there's probably something going on that, that's in their own life.
It's a legitimate question because you're right. There are, if you drive a nice car and a caregiver sees me, it makes me uncomfortable. It does. But, I took the risk. I invested everything I had into this. And if you could explain that to the haters and make them understand that, I would, but I don't think I don't think anybody would really understand that. I mean, I'm a 24/7 business. I have 2 cell phones on me at all times. I would love to hand those off to a hater and say, good luck, have fun with that because I'm done. It's hard to explain that to people. I don't know. It's a great question because it's a reality, I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, and I agree with these ladies. For me, it's almost impossible for me to hide my identity because my logo is actually a silhouette of myself. And then AAA Closet is my name, which is Alexis Ashley Angel. So my business is really all about me. And I work really hard for it. I'm very passionate about it, and I'm okay with showing that. And I haven't encountered a person face to face where they've had mentioned that they were unhappy for me or something like some type of resistance. I've seen it through maybe like social media dialogue and stuff like that, and I'm so chill. I usually just ignore that kind of stuff because whatever you're looking at, like, I'm glad you're happy for me. I really am, because I know that you're only doing that because maybe you really wish that you were in this position, but you don't really know everything that I've been through. You don't know the backstory. You don't know the 5:00 a.m. runs that you don't know any of that. And then and I feel like whenever my grandmother would always say, regardless if somebody's talking about you or not, like you're pretty popular, that they know you at all because You know, it's a lot of people that just walk around that are just nameless. So, you know, the fact that you took that time out to even think about me, yep, I'm flattered. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Any more questions? Yes.
So when you're living like these ladies are, when you're living like them, they're supposed to hate.
Thank you, Marcus.
I did have a question for Lisa. I was thinking about, you have a family-owned business?
Yes.
So as I heard you talk about it, I was thinking about what your exit plan was, or if you plan to hand it down to your children. Then I mentioned selling, so have you and your husband thought through the exit?
Well, in our industry, as you see, there's, autonomous cars. They're talking about coming out soon. So, things will be changing. I don't feel like there'll ever not be a need to repair vehicles. If our sons want to take it over, we do have a plan in place for them to take it over. But as of now, we're hoping to, either sell or let them take it over. Either way, I think that it'll work out. My biggest thing, and I know taking on too much debt, very, very difficult to get out of. I work a lot with my vendors, and most of them know, if Matt needs a new piece of equipment, and they'll say, oh, we got to talk to Lisa, because they know I'm going to beat them up over it. And I'm going to make payments because I do not want to take out a 5 or 10 year loan on a piece of equipment. There's going to be something else that's going to break down, and you're going to have another piece of equipment after that, and another after that, and then it's just going to dig a huge hole. So, getting yourself the least amount of debt as possible was a huge obstacle that we had to overcome through the years.
Do you have any good tips on how to balance what you already have going on with a new business, or as you were starting? So we're all in school, so I don't know, like that, or your family, or whatever you think.
So her question was if you have any tips on how to balance with the current business that you have. How do you tips on how to balance another business? Is that?
No, when you're starting the business, balancing
Life,
everything.
balancing life and
Yeah,
kids
right.
and
Right.
whatever. Somehow you do manage. I don't know how. And it's probably like your schedule here at school. I have kids in college, and I am in awe of what you guys do every day. And I know, I'm sure some of you guys go to school and work and, maybe drive far. I mean, your friend, going out with your friends, what you guys do every day, to me, blows me away. So if you can handle this, you'll be fine running a business. You learn efficiencies, you learn to, maybe brush your teeth while you're in the car, or,
I think you have to be mentally prepared. I don't know that I could have done it when I started my family, but when she went to college, it was, okay, now it's time. I think it's time. It's something I wanted to do. So, although I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, I probably should have started a lot earlier, but I didn't. And when she left, it was like, all right, I think I'm ready. So I think you really have to be, I don't think there's ever, like Lisa said, I don't know that there's ever a really good time, but you do learn to manage and balance, and it kind of happens naturally. But you do have to be mentally prepared for those challenges too. So,
I think the biggest tip is staying organized. One thing I do is I write everything down and write out my calendar. I make sure, I check a lot of appointments. Monday and Tuesdays, my store is closed. So typically on Monday and Tuesday, I'm just working for myself as an entrepreneur. And I'm working on collaborative ideas to work with other designers, or to maybe even possibility, start another business, or, whatever. But I dedicate Monday and Tuesday to myself, because even though AAA Closet is a part of me, but it's not all of me. And initially when I started my business, I was kind of running on burnout mode. That's how I felt a lot. I was at my store 5 days a week, and then I would have to take my son to school and do all these other things, and it wasn't really organized, and that was not working for me. I was tired, I was hungry all the time, and I was buying a lot of fast food because I had to be here, there, and everywhere. So what I started to do was schedule my appointments, on those Mondays and Tuesdays. Make sure that I have meal prep, which is like amazing. I meal prep all the time because I understood the importance of, I'm an entrepreneur and I cannot eat McDonald's and Wendy's. You just cannot. And even though it's like convenient and it's right there in front of you, it makes you sick and it makes you sluggish and you're not sharp. And as an entrepreneur, you need to be on point, game tight all day. Because you are your brand. You are you're your business. So I think just trying to stay organized and then give yourself days off. Schedule yourself days off. Schedule yourself times to pamper yourself, or just times to do things. Get yourself that me time, because you'll start to lose yourself, and then you can start to forget why you're doing it and why you're into it, because in the midst of it, when you're going through, it's just kind of happening. So you do need to take that time to take a step back and then come back once you've recuperated. And then even though I wake up early and my schedule is really long, I'm up for a lot of hours during the daytime. When I sleep, I make sure everything is off. Do not disturb. And I don't break that for anybody, my mom included, and I love her. But I don't break that, because it's so important to me to make sure I get my rest, because I know that tomorrow I'm going to have to face all these same tasks, and I can't do it, if I haven't gotten the proper rest or things like that.
Do you guys find that you take your business home with you, or do you try to separate
Every
your business
day.
from your home?
Yes.
Every day.
Business at home is everything.
I do because mine's 24/7, and we do have a cell phone that the phone's forward to, and so I have that cell phone every night, and so it'd be nice to close the doors at night and go home and not have to worry about it, but I just, unfortunately, that is our industry.
And I would say, even though I do take it home, it's not so much of me actually, well, obviously, I own a clothing store, so I'm not selling clothes there, but I will do, like some of my office tasks that I might have not done in the store. Because what I really like is I like to go home and have a lot of office work, because then that means that I had a really good shopping day at the store, because I was so busy selling so much stuff to customers that I didn't have time to do that. So I'm actually okay with that, because, I can, sacrifice that, but I do, after a certain point in time, I do cut the phone off, and I do make sure that I really prioritize time for, my family, my friends, and things, and other things in real life, because what you don't want is you don't want to get so involved into the business that, you are neglecting, your family and, school and work, because those things are still important too.
I stopped bringing my laptop home, because I know if I bring it home, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to fire it up and I'm going to start working again. And you need a break. You got to have some life outside of the business.
Let me ask, as we end, can the panelists stay for a few minutes in case our audience wants to talk to you one-on-one?
Sure,
We have a
sure.
little bit of time. Okay, great. This has been a really great discussion. Can we give a hand for our moderator? She rolled with it and did a great job, so I appreciate it. Entrepreneurship student who volunteered to do this, so thank you very much.
I want to thank the Dearborn Chamber of Commerce for introducing us to our panel here, Lisa and Claudine. I'd like to thank Professor Marcus Harris, for introducing us to Alexis on the panel. And let's give them a round of applause for sharing with us.